I love a movie with a main character that can make you laugh at the same time be pretty impressed by their personality. Let's have an animated discussion. Alright, so bet. Yojimbo focuses on Sanjiro, a Ronin who stumbles onto a town in the middle of their own version of West Side Story and decides to have a little bit of fun. This movie stars Toshiro Mifune, Eligio Tono, Tatsura Nakadai, and was written by Ryuzo Kikushima and Akira Kurosawa and was directed by Akira Kurosawa. Okay, don't hate me. Don't do it. There's enough hate in the world. Don't hate me. This is my first Kurosawa. I know. I'm super late to the game. I hang my head in shame and will never work in this town again. I get it. I'm a sham. I understand. But also, I know you're all jealous. You're all jealous of me because now I get to watch all of Kurosawa's movies for the first time and you don't. Loser. Yeah, I know I'm still the loser in this situation, but just let me have this. Deal? Cool. I'm not too familiar with a lot of Japanese culture. I love anime, but I haven't done a lot of deep dives into the history of some of the more popular references, which I didn't realize I hadn't done until I started watching this movie, because I realized I didn't really know what a Ronin was. I had heard about Ronin, but I did not actually know how to define it. So I started to do some research with this movie. And a Ronin, for those of you who are a little wet behind the ears, like me, welcome. This is a safe space, hopefully. A Ronin is a samurai who has lost their master and who does not belong to one place. It is said that once you lost your master, you're supposed to commit seppuku, also known as harakiri, which is basically a form of suicide where you cut your belly with a sword. Samurai would have two swords, and one of the swords was specifically to commit seppuku if you lost your master. I had no idea. This was amazing to me. If you did not perform this, you were considered dishonorable. I didn't realize this. I just thought a Ronin was a type of samurai, which in this case it is, but obviously there's a little more detail that goes into it. Every Ronin is a samurai, but not every samurai is a Ronin. I also didn't know master meant who they were supposed to protect. So like the lord or the lady they were supposed to protect. I thought it meant whoever trained them. So I was really confused because I was like, well, if everyone who loses a master dies, doesn't that lead to like a ripple effect of like, if that master dies, then who's ever under them has to die, then who's ever under that master has to die. So, it took me a while to realize all the rules of Ronin. I get it now, but it was a bit of a journey. I'm not gonna lie. So now that we know, it's my super short show. If you get that reference, you're as old as I am. Congratulations. Help me get up off the floor because my knees are creaking. Sorry, it's just the reality of the situation. Ronins were very much nomads, and right off the bat, we have a moment where we immediately see how much of a nomadic Ronin Sanjuro is. Sanjuro, not knowing where to go when he comes across a fork in the road, decides that he should throw a stick in the air, and wherever it lands, that's where he walks. It's great. I love that immediate, you guys know I'm a fan of establishing a character. I love immediate things that show he's kind of aimless. We witness this again later when someone asks for his name. He looks around and sees a field and names himself after the field, Kuwabatake. And then a 30-year-old, Sanjuro. So he's named 30-year-old field. His name doesn't matter. Where he's going doesn't matter. All that matters is where he is and who he is right then and there. There's something romantic about not being tied down. I think sometimes we idolize it because connections can be so heavy. And so seeing someone who is so free that they can just go and make up a new name, there's something that's very tantalizing about that. And I think Mifune, who plays Sanjo, does a very great job of making that look really enticing. It's also one of the reasons why Ronin are so popular in media today. Even though I was not familiar with what the term Ronin actually meant, I am surrounded by its influence in some of my favorite characters or form of media. How fascinating is it that what was once dishonorable is now so admired and reenacted in media consistently? We do this a lot. Something that is not cool suddenly becomes amazing. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of Van Gogh. You know what I mean? He was dismissed so often when he was alive, but now there are calendars and museums and galleries all dedicated to this man and his work. How weird is it that in some cases greatness isn't recognized until after they're gone? Give people their flowers now, as often as you can before it's too late. And it becomes a question of, does humanity evolve? Like the person who's not considered great until later, are they ahead of their time and it takes a while for the rest of humanity to keep up or catch up? Or are they just so blind to what's right in front of them? Here is something that is really cool in watching this film. They did a great job in separating and emphasizing things in a way that trained your eye on where to go. They also taught you what was important. For example, when we first meet the town, we meet the buildings. Literally just the buildings. Everyone is hidden. There isn't even a tumbleweed passing through. Slowly, windows open and we see people all huddled together with their own cliques. We have gang members, and then what appear to be businessmen, and then the geishas of the town. It's all very much showcasing how separated everyone is. And it's not just against each gang, but also the factions in each gang. And the only real interaction we first see is a dog and his handy meal. He has a hand in his mouth. That is until the constable tries to hire Yojimbo as a bodyguard for the gang he supports. It takes a good amount of time for any true authentic interaction to happen with Yojimbo. And so the dog being the first interaction shows how violent the town is, and then it shows how corrupt it is when the next interaction is the constable. As if that wasn't enough, he finds out just how bad it is when he meets this crotchety old restaurant owner, and he explains that the banging they are hearing in the shop next to his is the casket maker. He's the only one making any money right now. Even the restaurant owner doesn't have much food to serve, though what he has he gives freely. Sanjuro doesn't have any money, and the restaurant owner's like, yeah, I know, just eat. Oh, sweet man. Now, here is where the fun happens, and where we truly start to see all that Sanjuro is capable of. I love this part. This form of physical chess that people love to play is so engaging to me, and it's something I admire so much. Having heard enough, Yojimbo is ready to play a little game, knocks on one of the gang's doors, and says he will work for them. Come see what I'm capable of. Then goes to the other gang, causes mayhem by killing 3 of their members in 30 seconds, then goes back to the first gang and says, how much do you want to pay me to kill them off? That's amazing. That's just kind of amazing to me. I kind of dig it. After some haggling, which is really just Sanjuro walking away as the gang leader's like begging him and slowly raising the price, they agree to 50 Ryo. They initially offer him 3, but Sanjuro says he'll just go to the other gang instead. Here's why this show of strength is so impressive and got him such a high amount. It's not just because they can see how strong he is and how great of an asset he'll be on their team, but because also if he's not on their team, he'll be on the other team and he'll kill this group just as quickly. So the man is not just paying to win this Cold War, he is also paying to ensure the safety of himself and his people. Show them a solution as well as a new problem if they don't buy your product, and people will flock to you. This was genius. This was absolutely genius, because now it's terrifying to think, I just saw him kill 3 men in 30 seconds. What is he going to do to my people? And you can tell they're not the best fighters in the upcoming scenes. After the haggling and the agreeing, my least favorite character makes her appearance. Orin, Sebi's wife, and mistress over the geishas, is furious that they have to pay 50 and suggests that they kill Sanjuro after he takes care of the other gang. Not smart, but also an intriguing business proposition if you're trying to save money. Shout out to Green Stage Production. If you guys ever need to rent production equipment, should hit Green Stage up. They're dope. They operate out of Burbank. Sanjuro is too smart for this and ends up overhearing the conversation. Pretends to still be interested and gets both gangs outside before he completely ditches them and decides to watch the chaos happen from the rafters. I love this scene. You can also see how bad these guys are at fighting. They're too afraid to go toward each other. This is crazy. Why are these 2 gangs even here? They're terrible at this. I love this shot. I wanted to find an isolation of this shot to post, like the video, but I could not find a clip of it, of them just like inching toward each other while Sanjo's from the top watching. One thing I love about black and white films is it can be easier to focus on something because there's less of a distraction. I love how simple everything can look. It just feels like it makes the blacks so much darker and eyes know what to focus on. One thing I enjoyed about this movie was how many things they used to set Sanjuro apart as a character. The way he dressed, obviously, and the way he held himself showcased that he was a samurai, but the way they had everyone else act also helped elevate who he was. They had the henchmen very slouched and gruff, their clothes were tattered tattered or tied together. They even had the main cast with nicer outfits and a more dignified demeanor, but they didn't carry themselves with the same gravitas as Sanjuro did. And you see this often in movies. They always try to find ways to have their main characters set apart from the rest of the cast, but the way they did it in this movie was so good. In some ways, it's easier to do this in color because you can just have your main character wear a color that will draw the audience's eyes to them more often than not, but when you're doing this in black and white film, it can be hard to find ways to do this. I also think that Toshiro Mifune also just had an electric presence about him. He knew how to portray this aura that set him apart from everyone else in this shot, which is fascinating because you could tell that Sanjuro as a character didn't take himself too seriously. It wasn't like a lot of samurai that we see portrayed in media, which are very stoic, very quiet, only speaking when they have something wise to say. Sanjuro was enjoying the way he was tricking both factions of the town while he was helping them and while he was being smart. All of this was just a fun game to him, but he was very wise in how he played it. Mifune made Sanjuro's character a lot more complex in the way he portrayed it. I mean, you can see it when you go back to the stick conversation that we had earlier. He just throws a stick up and it lands anywhere. He has a very laissez-faire attitude that's charismatic and fun to watch. This is the importance of having a character with nuance. Sanjuro isn't just stock still, stoic, quiet. He is playful, he is fun. He pokes fun at people who are taking this a little too seriously, yet when it is time to take things seriously, he absolutely does. And he doesn't play around. When thinking about your characters, ask yourself this question: what sets them apart besides the camera focusing on them all the time? Animes have a joke that their main characters will always have some crazy hair or some physical feature that makes them easier to spot. What do you want to do to set your character apart? Is their personality different from everyone around them? Do they showcase a certain aura when on screen? Do they just look different? What do you want your character to be? How do you want them to be different? What does that look like? An example of Sanjuro taking something seriously is when he saves and protects the family where the wife was taken as a sex toy for one of the gang members. He wasn't playing during that whole interaction. He was very smart in his plan to make sure they were all free. Not only that, but he used the plan to further push the civil war that was happening so they could start destroying each other even more. Sanjuro may have been annoying to some people, namely the restaurant owner who just wanted to have his town back to normal, but he also didn't play about trying to protect as many innocent people as possible. There's also a good lesson here about how the right thing is the wrong thing. When the husband comes back to send a thank you note, he really puts Sanjuro in a bind. A moral compass can be so black and white sometimes that it can lead you to misunderstand the importance of a gray area. There are moments where the right thing is not always the right thing. Before we move forward, there's one scene that I was really hoping would be a little different, but it wasn't, and I'm a little sad about it. It's the scene where Sanjuro has convinced each gang over and over and over again that they're messing with each other. You see a slew of dead people on the street, and it's very quiet, and it might be the most people you see on the street at any time. But I really wanted to hear just an echo of the casket maker making caskets over the panning of everyone dead. But he doesn't. And they acknowledged it later. When asked about it, he says, no one bothers with caskets when there are this many dead. And I think Kurosawa made the more poignant choice here, of there being too many dead that the casket maker is even upset. And I think that line hit harder than what I wanted. But I would have loved to see how eerie that would have been, to see all these dead bodies and just the banging of a casket being made. You know? That's so interesting. It doesn't really push the story along either way. Both have a poignancy in a very different way. But I do think Kurosawa made the right choice. I think his line hits harder than my sound effect. I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect Sanjuro to get caught in his scheme. I thought he would get away with his plan. He was so smart, he kept outsmarting everybody. I do like that he got caught though. It made it more realistic, as well as showcased a really good moment of tension for those who were relying on him. He was already suspected, but it wasn't until they saw the note that really led to the issue here. Again, the issue was with right and wrong. Thanking someone technically is the right thing to do, until you get your hero killed. You didn't get Sanjuro killed, but it was touch and go for a second. Word of advice: if someone saves your life and gives you advice on what to do after, you should probably just follow what they said. They might know what they're talking about. That's my humble opinion. I think him also on the verge of death really helped sell the ending. The poor restaurant owner just looked so done. here when he's captured. You could tell he's just thinking, stupid samurai, why did I feed him anyway? I told him this idea was stupid, but did he listen? No. Does anyone ever listen to me? No. Now I'm just stuck here, tied up, about to die, because I decided to help this stupid idiot who just decided to stumble into town. He's justified in his frustration. Sandro hits his wall and wastes no time killing the last of those who messed with the person who took him in. And honestly, it's a great way for the movie to end. It's not this long, dragged out fight. Again, it shows Tanjiro's speed and agility. He kills so many people in so little time. It's insane. This movie is labeled as a psychological thriller, and I can see that in the sense that there's psychological gameplay here, and I was on the edge of my seat because it was a thrill. One thing I'm learning is how different two things can be in the same genre, because this is a psychological thriller, but so is Split, which is my favorite psychological thriller. McAvoy is phenomenal in that movie. And Toshiro is amazing in this movie. The way he plays both sides, he knows when someone is going to try to trick him. He is a cut above the rest. Overall, I give this movie 4.5 out of 5 handsy meals. I'm excited for my Kurosawa run and plan on reviewing a few more of his movies. He has such a good tone and a feel to his work that I really want to study more. I'm excited. And plus, the influence he had on Westerns it can't be understated. In fact, I don't know that we would have Westerns the way we do without Kurosawa. In fact, I know we wouldn't have Westerns the way we do without Kurosawa. That's important to acknowledge. That's all the time we have for today. As always, my name's Dee. I hope you have an amazing day, and see you later.